Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Director Watch, an AwardsWatch podcast that attempts to get inside the mind of cinema's greatest auteurs, explore what drives them, and maybe we go on a few unrelated tangents along the way. I'm Ryan McQuade, the executive editor here at AwardsWatch, and joining me, as always, is my co-host, Jay Ledbetter.
Ryan, there's something since we started this podcast, and since we have been podcasting together for all these years, there's something that we've needed to talk about.
Ooh.
And we need to talk about Kevin. And we're finally going to do it. We're going to do it.
Which Kevin are we talking about?
Time. Kevin Costner in the news.
Yeah. It's got
Kevin Eubanks, the band leader of the Jay Leno Show.
Kevin Lee, one of our writers here on the website.
Kevin Lee, Kevin Durant,
Kevin Jacobson,
former guest on the show. Of course, on the Carol episode. Great up.
There's probably a couple more Kevins I'm not thinking of right
now.
No,
but we're talking about this Kevin.
Kevin Garnett?
No.
Anything's possible.
Good clip.
We're talking about Lynne Ramsay's We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Yeah, a chill movie.
You know, when you don't make a movie for 9 years, I think you come back real chill.
It's the Dazed and Confused of its time.
Sure, I would.
It captures a moment. In some ways, it's actually weirdly true, disturbingly true. But
I think, I think it is it's a very interesting film that we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah,
a very serious film. Obviously, the subject matter of this movie is incredibly
and we're going to take
serious.
It all very seriously.
Yeah, we're not going to go on any tangents about maybe one or two or maybe three of the actors in this film, or
not going to do it.
Talk about their filmographies, stuff on and off screen. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. How are you doing, though?
We would never.
You doing all right?
I'm doing great. This has been an interesting series. Certainly the most somber series we have done to date, but a worthwhile one. No doubt about it. This is, I guess, if you're looking at we like to think about what is the movie of every series. Is this the movie of the Lynne Ramsay series?
I think this is the most talked about, maybe.
I think so.
I wouldn't. Oh, I guess so. I guess you're right.
I think this is the most culturally significant Lynne Ramsay movie.
This is considered by some to be one of the best films of the last decade.
When did this come out?
2011.
So the last decade and change.
Yeah. Well, I would talk about
of the 2010s.
Yeah. Okay. So when I'm talking about last decade, I'm talking about the 2010s. I'm not talking about the last 10 years.
Prior decade.
Yeah, the prior decade. Yes. Because we're in a new decade right now. I see this online all the time. It just drives me nuts when people are like, the last 10 years. I'm like, the last 10 years are not like from 2012.
So you're differentiating
2022 is not a decade.
The idea of the past decade.
That's got to start with a 0 and end with a 9. That's where you got to go. All right.
So the past decade does not mean the last 10 years. It means the last 10 years that ended in a 9.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Because then otherwise I would say,
I think we could talk about this for an hour.
I think we could, but we need to talk about Kevin. Okay.
we got it.
we
got to do it.
The sneaky little devil. Are you ready? We should just do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I guess let's just do it.
Because otherwise I am going to get into that. And I think that is I don't think the listeners are ready for that.
I think it's a very valid argument. I think the past decade means the last 10 years, but
when I'm talking about film, I mean the last decade when we did when everybody got together and started putting lists together. If I was making the
point that you just made, I would say some people think it is one of the best movies of the 2010s. That's how I would.
Okay, maybe that's fine. Maybe that's better. That's a better way of saying it. But I don't. But if I'm going to say something like the last, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, something like that, that's what I'll do. in that. But when I'm generally meaning decade, I mean of the decade before in film. I'm not, because we're currently we're in the start of a new one.
Sure. This is much like Lynne Ramsay's audience when it comes to this idea that you have. I think you've got a niche audience here.
I probably do, and I probably sound nuts, but it's okay. It's fine. It's my thing. It makes me very akin to Larry David. Okay. But he's not.
That is a very Larry David.
Yeah.
Kind of tangent to go.
He is my spirit animal. Do you have a spirit animal, like of a person that's like that you feel very strongly connected to? Because Larry David's mine, because I see the world through his lens. Very frustrating.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I look at Austin Butler and I'm like, it's such a burden to look like that.
Yeah, but I don't want to be rude to you, but I mean, you blow him out of the water, my friend.
Oh, Ryan, you don't need to. Come on now you're just flattering me.
See, there you go. Jay, you know my Venmo, right?
I was at one point with my in-laws and I guess she's my grandmother-in-law. We were talking about my wife and I just finished watching The Leftovers.
Oh,
and we were she was asking for what's a good show I should watch. I said, have you ever seen The Leftovers? She said, I don't know what that is.
I don't know if I would recommend that to an older audience, but
I don't know. And then she was like, who's in it? I said, Justin Theroux. Oof, what a handsome guy that is. And she said to me, you're so much better looking than Justin Theroux. And I think about it every morning when I wake up and I look at myself in the mirror and I say, you're not that bad. Someone once told you you're better looking than Justin Theroux. Was it incorrect? Absolutely.
I mean,
but somebody said it one time.
And that's what you put.
And it was a great day.
In every bio for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You put that on a job application.
It was a great day. I mean, especially Justin Theroux in The Leftovers. Ooh la la.
Man, him in like those jogging short and jogging pants.
Ay caramba.
Yamahama. Oh my God. Who is it me or to get hot in here? For the We Need to Talk About Kevin episode.
Speaking of death and its consequences. We need to talk about Kevin.
Kevin. Yeah. Okay.
What's darker, season 1 of The Leftovers, or we need to talk about Kevin?
Oh man. Season 1 of The Leftovers is bleak.
It's so bleak.
It's so nice that, I mean, it's a straight adaptation of the book, right? And then
I've read that. That is a book I have read.
And it's a pretty bleak book, but then the second season,
it brings it into more surreal territory, which I like.
That might be one of the greatest seasons of television I've ever seen.
Seasons 2 and 3 of The Leftovers
they're absolutely incredible.
Immaculate.
Maybe the second best finale I've ever seen of a show.
Right behind Game of Thrones?
No, behind Mad Men, which I think is phenomenal. This is my favorite show of all time.
Still haven't seen the last 2 seasons of Mad Men. A truly awful thing that I have done.
That's terrible because
I love Mad Men. I think it's one of the greatest shows of all time. I've never seen the last 2 seasons.
And it's so wild because you're such a completist.
I know. It's a crazy thing that I have done.
Maybe we should.
And at this point, it's kind of like, I kind of just want to be the guy who stopped before the last 2 seasons of Mad Men.
No, but don't do that, Jay. Don't do that.
I need to watch them. Watch them.
Maybe one day we do a Mad
There was
Men
another
podcast.
list this week. What was it? Rolling Stone, Variety, something where they ranked the 50 best shows of the 21st century.
Hollywood Reporter, I think.
Was number 1.
Hollywood Reporter.
Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah.
It's a good show.
It's a good show. It's
John Hamm, of course, now a part of everybody's favorite TV program, The Morning Show.
Is there a wilder show on television than The Morning Show?
Couldn't tell you.
Never seen
a second of it.
Never seen a second of it? You don't own the Apple Plus?
I have Apple Plus. I've just never seen The Morning Show.
You're not curious?
I'm a little curious, but
it feels like very discount. It's like very discount Sorkin and very wild and
discount Sorkin sounds like hell.
Shoot, regular Sorkin
Real
nowadays.
Sorkin can be hell.
Hell. Talk about the. Remember when he did the Newsroom and the first 15 minutes of Newsroom is incredible, and then every minute after that is absolutely insufferable.
Well, I just remember when he put me in the shoes of the Ricardos. It was like I was being one of the Ricardos.
That's fair. Did you feel like you were one of the 7 on trial in the trial of Chicago 7? You're right there. You're in Abby Hoffman's shoes.
It was like, you know how the world looks very bland when you look at it in real life, when it's not lit correctly or, like has any sort of verve to its visual stylization.
Yeah, it looks
That's
like
what you feel in that movie.
It looks like a screenplay.
Yes, exactly. It looks like the storyboards before they were actually put into action.
Wait, you want us to just shoot these? Yeah, that'd be fine.
Yeah.
All right. We need to talk about Kevin, which came out.
We need to talk about Kevin.
Yes. In 2011, movie directed by Lynne Ramsay, starring Tilda Swinton, John C. Reilly, Ezra Miller. Movie is about Kevin's mother struggling to love her child despite the dangerous things that he says and does as he grows up. But Kevin is just getting started. His final act will be beyond anything anyone imagined. Jay, I think you are right. I think that it's a fair hypothesis to bring up that this is the big film of the 4 that we'll be talking about in her filmography. And it was a big statement coming back, 9 years after Orphan Caller and, almost 15, at least 15 years after.
And you know what she was going to make?
Ratcatcher. What was she going to make? Because you probably did the research. What was she going to do?
The Lovely Bones.
She was going to do that, yes. And then the studio went, we got Peter Jackson fever. And she dodged a bullet there, right? Because that is...
Or maybe hers would have been awesome. I don't know.
Maybe it would have been. I mean, that book is beloved.
I've never seen the movie. I got to be honest.
Have you never seen that? It is one of the most... I would say one of the worst experiences I've ever had in a theater.
I got to check it out.
Even Stanley Tucci got Oscar nominated. The Tooch.
But not one of the worst experiences in the way that Morphin Collar is one of the worst experiences.
No.
It's what an effective thing.
Yeah, no, this is a giant...
What a disaster.
Yeah, miss and a disaster of a film. Yeah.
Not even the Tooch could save it?
No. And he's like always... You see it in the Oscar
Is he the one who plays the creeper?
Yeah, he plays the creeper. He's been on record saying like he's not proud of that movie, which I can totally understand. It's not one that you really...
We need to do Peter Jackson one day.
Yeah, so you can talk about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, what was his last movie? One of the Hobbits?
Well, if you count documentaries, he did of
course.
He did
Get Back.
He did Get Back. Before that, he did that World War II documentary, remember?
Yep.
But then, yeah, his last like theatrical
World War I documentary.
Yeah, or World War One. I'm sorry. Yes. The last one was the last Hobbit film that came out, The Battle of the Five Armies.
That's crazy. That was like 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I will say to this day, that battle does not have 5 armies in it. And how
many armies does it have?
Honestly, it has like 3.5. If you really count them, it's just 3.5. And they just used like
people sued when Ana de Armas wasn't in yesterday.
Yeah, I should sue about
that. That's
that
grounds for a similar suit.
I think it's actually a more legitimate lawsuit because actually Ana de Armas should be thankful that she wasn't in yesterday. A truly horrible film.
We got to do Boyle.
I really don't want to. You know, I'm not a Boyle guy.
I'm not a Boyle guy either.
I know, I'm not. I don't get that. That's talk about a guy that's like made for somebody else. Maybe one day. Maybe we'll do it just as
he's got some good ones though.
Yeah, he's got some interesting choices. Remember when everybody had in 2008 like Boyle fever with Slumdog? Like nobody talks about that movie.
That one won Best Picture, correct?
Yeah,
that's a weird one.
Yeah.
Win Best Picture.
No, not really.
And also not good enough to win Best Picture.
No, but also that lineup's pretty bad. Much like 2011, which is the same year that We Need to Talk About Kevin came out.
Of course, the film
She's
we're talking about today, and we
Yes.
have been talking about for the last 20 minutes.
Yes, exactly. The movie that we're not trying to avoid at all. So,
No.
Jay, I think you kind of alluded to this. You stated at, I think, the Ratcatcher episode that you think Lynne Ramsay's best film is her first film because you've done the watches already.
Yes.
You've kind of played your cards with me off camera, but I'm kind of curious, and I know the audience is definitely curious what your thoughts are on We Need to Talk About Kevin.
I don't think this is a good film. On a storytelling level, on a thematic level.
Is this the first film in all of our series that you just think is flat out bad?
In any of the ones that we've done so far?
Is this like where In Cindy's is at? Where like
I think On Sundays is in a similar territory as this, and also suffers from similar flaws.
Sorry. Yeah.
Where they are there are these very heightened, emotional, dark family stories that to me come off as a little dishonest. You watch Ratcatcher, you watch Morven Caller, and those films feel so honest in their smallness, in the little moments that might feel abnormal to you, but in the world of the movie feel so true. We Need to Talk About Kevin. I don't know if it's sort of that leveling up of moving up to more quote unquote Hollywood filmmaking, but this one feels heightened to a point that it feels detached from any sort of reality. I don't think the world of We Need to Talk About Kevin feels relatable like it should. And this is certainly one of those movies that I watch now, and this is the first time I've seen the film, but I imagine before I had a son, my first child, maybe I would have looked at it differently. But the way that Tilda Swinton's mother character just views her son from the beginning feels so cruel in a way that is just, in my opinion, innately unrelatable. It is this almost sociopathic detachment that I can't even fathom. And the disinterest of the parents in getting him into some sort of institution or therapy or something is just, it doesn't feel like they were doing the work, and therefore it doesn't feel like the events that unfold in this film are wholly earned. It is a hard film to watch, but I don't find it nearly as hard to watch as Morven Caller, because that film to me feels like a person coping with the events that are unfolding before them in a way that, as different as they are from what I would be doing in those moments, to the character feel so of a piece with that character and with that film. And here with Tilda Swinton, there's the opening sequence of this film with the tomato smashing in Spain, which has there's so many bright reds in this film that are very much supposed to look. Lynne Ramsay likes a on the nose piece of imagery, often to her benefit. She's loving the bright reds in this film as a representation of blood, obviously. And that starts a little bit.
Why would any blood happen in this thing?
We need to talk about Kevin, and we'll get there.
Okay.
But the opening sequence of this film, when you see that, is so striking. I mean, at the beginning of the film, when you know what the film is about, you're like, oh, so this is much more of a massacre than I thought it was. But then it turns out to be this kind of jubilant celebration in Spain. But the way that kind of transforms it's a nice, striking piece of imagery. And I think that opening scene has such a clarity to it and a sense of purpose that I really appreciate that. But everything else feels muddled to me.
Mm.
And this is a film that it's disappointing in kind of the arc of her career, because it does feel like her having a desire to level up, but it feels like in that leveling up, she's kind of dumbing down her sense of empathy
Mm.
and making something a little more obvious and far less interesting than what she's made in the past.
Okay, so I went on Letterboxd and put this up today.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. So you hadn't been on there. I didn't rate it
No.
because I didn't want you to see it.
Okay.
I didn't want you to see it. I agree with everything you said.
Wow, we're both going negative on Kevin.
Here's the thing about this movie.
To be clear, you agree with his kind of worldview.
That's not something to joke with. No.
Okay.
No.
All right.
How dare you? I think that this movie has not aged well, in particular to the subject matter that it's talking about.
Well, that is certainly
an
interesting point of conversation.
I think that there is a lot of complexities that surrounds mass shootings, big assassinations on campuses, attacks like this that Kevin does in the film. And I think that the movie uses Ava, played by Tilda Swinton. You see a lot of the breadcrumbs as to how an event like this can happen, right? It's there from pretty much the beginning, from infancy, right? That something is off. Their relationship is very broken.
Yeah, the scene of her in the hospital after he's born is her in a state of complete numbness, and disinterest.
Yeah. And I think that the movie shares a lot of it really shares a kinship to Morven Caller, as these movies that are very, very hard to watch. But this movie is unrelenting in allowing nuance to take place for her character. And it is almost...
See, I disagree.
I think
that's the problem with the movie.
I think no. The movie...
Or are you saying Morven Caller is that?
No, I'm saying that this movie, we need to talk about, Kevin, absolutely punishes her. And we see it, and that this movie, it just doesn't feel real. You're like what you said, it doesn't feel like... It's very black and white.
It's very black and white.
She has a bad relationship with her, but he manipulates it with everybody else. We see this over and over and over and over and over again, and she is not smart enough to pick up on this, I guess, or the writing is not smart enough for her to find a way to present this child as problematic as it would be. And
well, they just don't address it in a way that feels honest in any way.
No,
whatsoever.
it feels like a movie that presents it, already going in, that it is about a horrific event. He's going to kill a bunch of people. So if you know that going in, it needs to be more interesting, because otherwise this movie, Jay, for me, from the beginning of this movie, it lays all the cards out on the table. And then it's like, well, this is how I laid the card here. Well, no, I don't care how you laid the card there, because they're already there. I don't care about the cards. And it's punishing. The movie is punishing on the audience to sit there and be like, wait a minute, we already know how this is all going to happen.
There are good movies that are punishing.
Yeah, and I don't have a problem with that. But I don't learn anything here. There's nothing to learn here.
No, it doesn't.
She doesn't learn anything. There's no commentary. I think there's interesting scenes like when she has enough, right? And she kind of throws him across the room, but he covers for her with the arm brace, right? But then he goes right back after the thing heals to being exactly the way he was before.
Well, that scene where she throws him across the room is it is. I mean, that is one as a parent where you're like, that is unfathomable to me, and maybe that is just a disconnect that I have with the movie to some extent. Is how do you treat a small child this way? This woman should be sitting next to Kevin in prison. What are we talking about?
But also too, while she's done that, I mean, every parent's probably wanted to, at a certain point down the road or whatnot, your kid's probably going to do something. I know
kids can be annoying.
Yeah. And the impulse happened or whatever. But the movie then lays out from society's angle, right? Because the movie flashes back to him as a kid, but flashes forward to after the events, her life trying to pick up a semblance of normalcy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And every damn character that we come across is the same one note. Look at this person.
No character development at all.
None of them are developed.
No.
They're all just sledgehammers to beat her up,
to bludgeon the audience,
to make the blow that Kevin did on her life even harder than it already was. And it's I don't think that it is effective storytelling. And I think that she, like you're saying, she likes to use things to her benefit that are simplistic, but can be really beautiful.
I'm kind of bummed out that you don't like this movie, so I can't argue with you about it.
I mean, that's the thing is that I would like to like a movie like this.
Well, let me ask you this, because we just did the Villeneuve series. I think Polytechnique is a very good movie.
Yes.
About a school shooting.
I think that a movie, I know it's a little stagey or whatnot, but a movie that came out a couple years ago, something like Mass. There's moments of empathy there.
I don't love Mass. I love Nitram. I like
Nitram is another movie, but like Mass is a movie where that at least has the conversation about having the nuance around that this isn't all at the shoulders of a parent, but yet having the conversation. That movie actually has a conversation there.
Nitram has far too heightened for me.
It's a little too. Yes, I understand that, but it's not as heightened as something like this, where like this isn't. Like that actually feels like it's in a reality.
It's a question. Is this movie heightened or so suppressed that it lacks?
No, this is heightened because I think everything's taken. I think everything's taken to the highest. I think everything's taken up to
like
11.
when Kevin pours Drano into her eye.
Yeah, like we get it. He's a fucking psychopath. There's no.
He feels like it's like Todd Phillips' Joker movie.
Yeah, it really does, and it's
kind of.
But there's no person that sees it, or like the John C. Reilly character is the most frustrating character to me in this movie, because that's a character that if you wrote that character, their actual relationship to be stuck in the middle would be fascinating, right? And this idea of clearly what is the attachment that, other than wanting to make her life a living hell for whatever reason, because that also too is just bullshit. It's just like he hates her because what, since the womb, her existence, his existence.
It does have this kind of Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah, but it's not a horror
to it.
But right. It's not nearly as
there's
horrific.
Nothing supernatural about it. It's supposed to kind of give off this sometimes this is just how it is energy to it, which I think feels of a piece with the work in Ratcatcher and in Morven Caller, but here it just feels,
Can I
in
ask
my opinion, almost supernatural.
Can I ask a question? Because this is
I'll let you ask a question.
Because this is a question that I'm curious about this film. I hadn't seen it in a long, long time. It's been years since I've seen it.
Did you like it the first time you saw it? Or did you find it effective the first time you saw it?
I think the first time I saw it, I kind of didn't know what to make of it, and I needed somebody to talk to about it, and then I just kind of suppressed it and didn't think about it, because it's like,
we need to talk about Kevin.
Exactly. And nobody was around. I didn't have you at that time. I would have totally talked about this movie with you. I thought it was I was kind of impressed by Tilda, but I was really obsessed with Tilda at that point, and you I didn't know
Fever at this point.
I didn't know what this movie was about going in, and I hadn't seen Lynne's work before, so this was like kind of shell shocks you a little bit when you first see it. But yeah. But time.
You didn't see Morven Caller in theaters?
Well, 2002, I was a mere 10 years fucking old, and I wasn't telling. I was telling the parents, I was like, guys,
uncultured swine.
Morven Caller's in theaters. We got to go. And they were like,
sound the alarms. Morven Caller's in theaters.
Listen, if I don't see Morven Caller in 2002, I'm going to have such a bitch fit that you won't even want to be around me. But
sounds like something Kevin would say.
Totally would do it, right? My question to you is, Jay, is this because this is as American of a movie so far as she has made, right?
Certainly.
And this
no. Are we going to talk about, is this a
3 Billboards
moment? I was just about to bring him up.
Is this a Martin McDonagh thing?
Good question.
Because this feels like
an outsider's view of a very sensitive subject
that is mostly an American problem.
This is interesting. I had not considered that comparison.
And as I was watching the film, I was thinking, good Lord, this is what people think of us in these kind of black and white. And I think it's interesting to look at this movie from that perspective, but it still doesn't mean that gets the movie off the hook from not being interesting or nuanced enough to make it a compelling film.
Does it feel like sort of a built-in issue with the conceit of the movie?
I think, yeah.
That's a good question to raise. I would say no, only because I think it treats, maybe the biggest issue is that it does treat the problem so broadly.
Yeah.
I would say the fact that he carries out his act of violence with a bow and arrow, I think, is detrimental to the movie. I think it kind of waters down the big moment of the movie.
You think so?
I think so. I would be fully willing to hear an argument that opposes that idea.
Why do you think it waters it down?
Because a bow and arrow is a far less
effective tool of killing,
of mass destruction.
Yeah. The movie doesn't also state how many he kills.
It does not. The most devastating shot of the movie is just when you see his dad and sister dead in the backyard.
Yeah, which is, again, super punishing to her. Like,
it's incredibly punishing. The shot of the little girl dead in the backyard, to me, is just, it's not appalling, but it feels cheap to me.
It feels like, why? I was sitting there going like, I was just shaking my head.
I mean, the only the why is because
just kill her. Then why doesn't you just kill her?
Thing they can come up with.
But that's the thing.
I guess the idea is maybe the what he's really doing is punishing her. Is that the idea? I don't
But then
know.
again, if you're gonna just do this, either make him a full-blown psychopath and just be like,
well, they do turn him into a psychopath when he goes to jail.
Yeah,
he's like spitting out his fingernails on the table, and he just doesn't feel human anymore.
No, he feels like a comic book strip at that point.
I agree. God, this movie's bad.
And the problem is that when she asks him the question that, of course, we all are going to want to wait to see, the movie then cops out as a movie that's been very straightforward at telling us pretty much everything at this point. The movie then
cops that you dislike this movie.
The movie cops out at the end.
I want to yell at somebody over this movie.
He's like, you know what? I don't know why I did it. And you're like, yeah, I don't know why you made this movie.
Well, there is that.
Ridiculous.
I mean, what is the line that he says at one point? He says, "There is no point. That's the point."
Yeah.
He says about that. I think that was when he put a virus on her computer.
But that's again still not good enough. It's not good. Like,
it's good enough for the Joker.
Yes,
but I think
the Joker doesn't have
Ramsay
mommy
is
issues.
striving for something a little more complex than some people just want to watch the world burn.
I expect, and exactly. I mean, there's the whole, like, that movie just explains everything still about a guy like that, and there's also more. The movie's, I'm not even going to compare it, but like this almost is like Todd Field's Joker if you want to really get to it. It's very just like. It's all presented to you. Bad people are bad. The world's bad to them. And that's
I just don't think there's a lot of there.
The world's not even bad to this kid. He's got us, and that happens.
No, that's not
a thing either. But it's just like,
I mean, you can certainly point to some level of
the idea of him
mental
being
illness. Obviously,
there's that, but it just feels like from the beginning they have a compromised relationship. Him and his mother. And that takes years and therapy and time, and it's complicated, but at the end of it, they're still connected because that's still her child. And clearly she has a lot of issues as well, right? But not to the
level of apathy towards Kevin, I think, is the biggest problem with the movie.
Right?
It just doesn't make any sense.
I think the Riley character of just always siding with the child, I'm going to call bullshit on that. I ever fucked up as a kid. My parents never took my side. That's just horseshit thinking. I'm sorry. It just is. Like, parents always are going to side together in that stuff. It's never
not even
be
necessarily that, but it shouldn't be as one-sided.
Yeah,
as
man.
Both sides are.
One goddamn time. Can
it doesn't
you agree
make
with
it
your
complicated
wife?
enough. It doesn't make it complicated enough.
Side with your wife.
Raising a child is very complicated.
Yeah. And sure, the kid's going to be right sometimes, right? And you're going to be right sometimes. But at the end of the day, you still need, this, Jay, as a parent in the future, when your son grows up, he's a boy. Sorry, boys do dumb shit. We do dumb shit all the time. They're going to make mistakes, and you need a unified front.
Yeah.
And it's about
personally never made a mistake.
Well,
I was the one.
Well, and you look like Justin Theroux. Justin Theroux doesn't make mistakes either, right?
Ryan, excuse me. She said
you
I
look better
than
Justin Theroux. That's right. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I just hate that this is an audio medium so that everybody could see me.
It's actually very distracting to do an episode with you.
Sorry. I don't even have good lighting in here, and I still am.
Yeah, because you look like the audience at a Taylor Swift concert.
I bring my own light.
Yeah, here you go.
Oh, so you're saying I look pale?
Yes, exactly.
That was funny.
Yeah, you're welcome. You look like Ezra Miller in this movie.
Oh boy, let's talk Ezra Miller.
Can I tell you that
a completely non-controversial figure?
This is one of the worst performances I've seen in quite some time.
Oh, you really think Ezra's that bad?
I do not think this is a good performance. It's so one note. all of it's one note. I at least think Tilda's trying to do something at times. And
what do you think about the sad Tilda scenes?
Well, there's a lot of them.
There are a lot of
them. Are you
them.
talking about when this is post-massacre?
Yes, post-event Tilda.
I think that they're uneven. I think some of them are. I think some of them are very good, and I think some of them also are like, "What are you asking her to do here, Lynn?" You know, like
Ryan. Somebody put red paint on her windshield.
Yeah, she also is having a hard time getting a job. And
this is another thing I was thinking about. If you're the parents of the children who were killed, would you have this vendetta against the mother of Kevin?
I think that here's the problem. The movie loses all sense of making her out to be a villain when her husband and her daughter are killed in this massacre. The movie's logic is gone at that point.
Good point.
Because
that's another thing that makes it feel kind of dishonest.
Because society here would go, that woman was living with a monster. She tried to tell, she lost everything.
She literally gets punched in the face in a parking lot.
She does. And then she's supposed to just take that. You know? She's supposed to just take that all in. It's frustrating. I mean, Jay, the movie, I think I just explained that the movie just lost all of its logic. I mean, for God's sakes, like, I don't know, it would be the equivalent of if a mass shooting happened here, but the mass shooter killed members of their family beforehand and then went to school and did all that. You don't think that, like, I don't know, the news would cover it from the standpoint of like, good God, this person, they birthed this monster and then they lost everything else. There would be, I think there would be sympathy for her in that, what seems like a small-ish community. I don't think that she would have to be like, I mean,
or at least not complete ire and
I don't think anybody would be punching her in the face or breaking all of her eggs and making her live out a life of suffering.
I mean, you're just saying stuff that I hadn't even considered, that it makes me like the film even less.
I mean,
I don't even really know what to say, but let's talk about, so you say this performance from Ezra Miller is pretty awful.
Do you want to talk about the actual Kevin in this movie? You want to talk about Ezra?
Let's talk Ezra, and let's talk Ezra at large.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
It's important.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you, because it's kind of wild that the character consumes the performer. When was the first time you saw Ezra Miller in a movie? Was it Perks of Being a Wallflower? Did you see that in theaters?
I didn't see Perks of Being a Wallflower in theaters.
That was the first time I saw them in a movie.
Gosh, it might have been Trainwreck.
Were they in Trainwreck?
They play the intern that Amy Schumer has sex with in Trainwreck, or tries to have sex with.
I do not remember that at all. Wow. All right. Good for you for remembering that. Mm-hmm. Do you remember if they were good in it?
Not bad.
Okay. I remember seeing them in Perks of Being a Wallflower, a movie that, for anyone in our generation, like that movie when that came out at that time.
I still haven't seen it.
It's very much a movie of that time, because I rewatched it a couple years ago and I was like, yeah, this isn't that great, but I understand why I loved it at that time, if that makes sense. Like, it's very much like, it's more of a serious but a very sweeping coming of age film, felt very much like a movie that I was like, oh, okay. It was a big surprise
from
too.
the director of Dear Evan Hansen.
He wrote the book. The book was very successful. It was before Dear Evan Hansen, which is an abomination.
I like Wonder, actually. I think
yeah,
Wonder's pretty good.
Wonder's good. Again, another little surprising film, right? You wouldn't expect that thing to be as good as it kind of was, and
also a big hit.
And Perks of Being a Wallflower, like obviously it's like coming off of like, you know, Emma Watson being in the Harry Potter films, Logan Lerman is the lead, but really the takeaway was, oh my God, who is this Ezra Miller? Because they kind of steal the show in the movie, you know, and so you think, oh, okay, they steal the film. What's the next thing they're going to do? And I believe this was the next thing, which is a complete like 180 on that character. Oh, I'm sorry. No, this came out first and then Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah, this came out before.
But I didn't see, I went back on this. See, I saw Perks first and then I went back to see this.
So this was sort of the attempt to bring Ezra more into the mainstream.
Perks was definitely that. Yeah, that's sort of the breakthrough. And then then they do like some small stuff. The Amy Schumer thing I'm seeing, and then they become the Flash. And then they're in the Fantastic Beasts franchise.
Two big honkin' franchises.
They are stuck in these franchises for what seems like most of their career.
Or maybe more appropriately, the franchises are stuck with them.
Yes. And then as really the franchise is sort of revving up, right? Because like the Fantastic Beasts movies are just, I mean, they are some of the
these are two of the fizzlingest franchises in history.
Fantastic Beasts is just to get the clicks of Harry Potter, and they're not particularly very good. They're also a vehicle to try to make Eddie Redmayne a thing continuously.
I'm a huge Harry Potter guy. I still haven't seen The Secrets of Dumbledore.
You don't know The Secrets of Dumbledore?
I haven't learned the secrets.
It's actually not bad. I'll tell you that. I think The Secrets of Dumbledore is way better than the
Crimes of Grindelwald?
The Crimes of Grindelwald. The only Crimes of Grindelwald is that movie exists. But The Secrets of Dumbledore is not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. The first Fantastic Beasts is probably still the best. I don't know. I'm not going to think about it. But then, of course, the DCEU, which is now on so much diminishing returns, including a movie that came out this year.
They're literally resetting it.
Yeah, they're resetting it.
Have you seen The Flash?
Yes.
Abominable.
I finally watched it because you kept saying you should watch it. And then I think I watched it on one of my plane rides somewhere. This I can't remember which.
The only appropriate place to watch it. I watched it at home.
You watched it because you got a free chance to watch it.
I did
because
my father-in-law buys everything on iTunes, and I have access to his account.
Does he know that he can just rent things? He doesn't have to buy them.
I don't know. It's a flex, man.
Okay, good for him. Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily say Ezra Miller's the problem of that movie.
He's not. They're not a problem.
They're not the problem. They're not the problem. But of course, while all these movies are going on, he's doing his own We Need to Talk About Kevin stuff, where he's like kidnapping people and
committing crimes, the crimes of Grindelwald.
Kidnapping people and torturing them, and I don't know. I haven't even really gotten all into the wild stuff. I just know that they were a wanted person.
Ezra Miller just likes punching people outside of bars. Seems to be kind of the gist of it.
Yeah.
Ezra Miller drinks too much and gets violent when they get drunk.
Yes. And then there was like the kidnapping stuff, and then it was like,
oh yes, the weird Ukraine cultish angle.
Yeah.
Yes, Ezra Miller started the war in the Ukraine.
No, it was like somewhere over there, right? And like
there was something along those lines.
And then meanwhile, they're trying to figure out when this Flash movie is going to come out, and they showed up at the premiere, but they didn't do any red carpets, obviously.
It's a little bit of the Ansel Elgort West Side Story thing.
Yeah, but at least Ansel got to speak to people.
A little.
And
bit.
Yeah, but it's very much that. Didn't Ansel Elgort and them get in a fight? Or am I thinking of somebody else? Another white actor?
I think you're thinking of Harrison Ford. I think you're confusing Ansel Elgort and Harrison Ford.
Did Harrison Ford beat up Ezra Miller or something?
I don't know.
Okay.
Probably.
But anyway, I don't think they're good in this. Ezra's not good in this.
Has Ezra been good in anything?
I do, even though the movie's a little bit lesser, I do think that they are good in The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Haven't seen it, can't speak to it. Don't think they've been good in anything else.
Were they good in Trainwreck? Fine.
That's such a movie about heightened comedic performances that it's almost... Ezra does what they're asked to do in that movie. No more, no less.
I think it's hard to judge.
Also, that's a movie with Tilda in it, a reunion.
Yeah. Tilda's great in that movie.
Tilda looking weirdly normal.
I want to ask you another question. This is another important question. This goes back to the first episode we ever did here on Director Watch. You posed a question.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you thought that Julianne Moore might be the greatest living actress that we have currently.
Oh, you're presenting Tilda.
And I presented Kate to you before. I'd like to present Tilda Swinton's body of work.
You are bringing Tilda to the table.
And I'd like to nominate her. I'd like her to be considered. Because there is massive versatility, not only in the selections, but in the performances themselves from her, just like Julianne Moore, I believe. So what do you think of that, Jay?
Well, it's a very interesting argument to make and not an invalid one by any stretch. And the thing about Tilda works.
Man, does she work.
Tilda.
She's in 3 movies this year.
Works.
She was in 3 last year. She was in 4 the year before, or 3 again the year before. She's not missed a year. She never misses.
And you look at who she's working with on the rag. Wes Anderson, Jim Jarmusch. She's ingratiated herself into the world of the Coens.
Ingratiated herself into the world of Wes Anderson.
Right. George Miller she worked with recently.
David Fincher.
Joanna Hogg.
Del Toro.
She's working with the greats, but
Pedro Almodovar.
The Pedro Almodovar in the short. The question is, does Tilda in supporting roles supersede some of these other actresses in fully lead roles? Right? Because Tilda is
she doesn't
plug and play A+ character supporting actor.
Yeah, but when she's lead, she's also great too, like Orlando, or I'm trying to think of the other film here. I'm trying to look for it real quick. A Bigger Splash, Only Lovers Left Alive.
Only
Lovers Left Alive. It's a 2-hander for her there. When she's given the opportunity, she'll knock it out of the park. But yes, I mean, she has more or less been a supporting player, but more along the lines of being part of ensembles.
But that does kind of lend itself to the question of.
But she's not. But she's great in everything.
Seymour Hoffman also mostly a supporting player. But
The Eternal Daughter, for Christ's sake,
yeah.
She was extraordinary in that film last year. And
did you ever watch Memoria?
I never got to see Memoria.
I never saw it.
No, I never got to see it because it never. No one ever.
You got the neon box set. It's in.
No, I don't have that neon box set.
Oh,
I didn't get it was a year before I started getting the box set.
Hmm.
So I don't
I
have
have
that.
it, and I still haven't watched it.
You
I
never
should
watched?
sell that for $1,000.
Well, it's one of those, right, where they said that they will never release it.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. If it doesn't come to your town, you'll never get to
And
see
it did come to my town. I know that. It came for like 2 weeks, and I think it was like during South by Southwest, and I was like, I'm never going to be able to see this, and I was tired, and so I didn't get to it. But I know a buddy of mine who's another critic here in town, has that box set and could give me the disc to borrow. And I've asked him for it before, and I just put it off because I didn't want to be like that. Hey, give me that disc. But maybe I'll put it on. Maybe I'll ask him to bring it over sometime. I don't know. I've heard mixed things though, because some people really love that movie and some people hate it.
It seems like it's
a movie of the census. You really got
particular film.
Yeah, it's very much like a niche audience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but no, I loved her in The Eternal Daughter. I think she was like one of my 5 nominees in my personal ballot last year. I was blown away by that performance. Easily my favorite Joanna Hogg film.
Very good in Asteroid City.
Very good in Asteroid City. She's great in every Wes Anderson vehicle.
Have you seen The Killer yet?
No, I haven't seen I see that in a couple weeks. I see it in 2 weeks.
God, I got to see The Killer.
I got to see it. Though I heard she's underutilized in The Killer. I heard she's not in it that much.
No, that's a shame.
But I mean, she's also in the Marvel movies.
Is that her first? No, she was in Ben Button, right? Yeah, she was in Ben Button.
She's going to be in Joshua Oppenheimer's next film with Michael Shannon and George Mackay.
Is that a sequel to Oppenheimer?
No. You know who Joshua Oppenheimer is, correct?
I sure do. He's the best.
The act of killing and
one of the great documentarians of his time,
of our time right now. Yeah. First full feature. It's a movie called The End.
I just want to see
Golden Age style musical about the last human family.
I would bet you money this is the highest rated Lynne Ramsay movie on Letterboxd. Let's see.
You think so?
Actually, Ratcatcher is rated higher than it.
Was You Were Never Really Here not ranked high?
No, actually, You Were Never Here is the lowest rated of the 4.
Really?
They're all very close, though.
They're all like 3/8.
Ratcatcher is a 4.
Yeah.
Kevin is a 3/8, and then
Morven Collar's a 3/8.
Morven Collar's a 3/8, and You Were Never Really Here is a 3/7.
Okay, 3/7. Interesting. We'll talk about that next week. I don't know if I agree with that.
I just don't know if this film is very frustrating to me. Because you can tell it is made by a person with an extraordinary amount of talent. But she seems to be focusing that talent in an area below her ability.
Well, it does feel like her movie.
She's punching down.
I will say that. It's not like it doesn't
stylistically,
feel like,
it does for sure. It's got Johnny Greenwood in it. He punches this thing up.
Yeah. It's a good score. No, is he doing the score for this?
He does this music. He does. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know he did. We need to talk about Kevin.
There's not a ton of music
You Were
in
Never
this
Really
movie.
Here. Yeah, there's not a ton. It's not like You Were Never Really Here, where that score I think is a little bit more present.
It's not like the There Will Be Blood score. No.
I think Seamus McGarvey's cinematography is actually really good, very effective.
This movie is often incredibly effective on a moment-to-moment basis, but it does not congeal into something that is of a piece with itself and of a piece with the world and moment that it is trying to portray.
Is this maybe the best example of the substance destroying the style? Because we talked about this a lot in our conversations.
Or the opposite, the style destroying the substance?
Well, no, because I think like The substance of this is the story and the logic and everything, and the performances and all that stuff, and the style of the filmmaking and everything is almost forgotten about because we can't get over the fact that
because
the construction of what
rings so hollow.
Yes.
Oh, I mean, that's a good question. Because I am such an aestheticist.
You're such a visual,
I'm all about like form is so important to me.
Yeah. And I'm like this, where story and structure
but this is a movie that feels
ideas are
story forward.
Yeah, it's the most story forward, I think, of any of the films in.
Absolutely.
And I think that it suffers,
including her next one.
Yes. And I think it suffers immensely for being that.
I agree.
I think also this
substance
movie
consuming the style.
The other thing, this movie is too long.
It is. I mean, it's too long because it keeps doing the same thing over and over and failing at it. That's why it's too long.
Yeah, it's what is this, like 2 hours? And this movie should have been,
I don't even know if it's that long.
It feels like it. It feels long.
It's an hour 53 with credits.
This movie should be an hour and 25 minutes long. 30 minutes could easily be cut out of this movie.
It should be Polytechnique length.
Yeah.
Which is like 80 minutes.
But also it should understand, I don't know, Jay, it just should feel like it understands.
It's just kind of hitting the subject matter over and over again, and the notes to me ring false.
But this is a subject matter that is far more nuanced than what this movie tries to get out, and it's so difficult. What happens to communities and what happens to people when events like these happen, there's so many fucking layers to this, and this movie puts it as just too black and white.
That's a good point. You're trying to portray this very important, pervasive issue through the lens of one person, and does that not do justice to the entire issue? I would say probably yes.
And
again, you kind of mentioned it. Was this too soon to be the definitive school shooting movie?
Well, we've had a decade more since and
it's gotten worse.
And it's not just schools. It's churches, right. It's theaters, this is 2011. Year later is the Colorado theater shooting. Right?
Well, it is. You liked Nitram, right?
Nitram is a fascinating movie, and it's also the text at the end of that movie shows that the government, they have
you're talking about you're not talking about the effectiveness of the movie. You're talking about
I'm talking about the fact that movie is I think that's harder to like look at, because that movie one looks at Nitram, and the movie again very complicated, right?
That one's more about the interiority of the shooter, whereas this is about the interiority of the mother of the shooter.
That's a movie where
I just don't think her character is nuanced enough to justify what this movie is striving for.
But in order to be nuanced, I don't know if you have to add sympathy. I think maybe a little bit, but I think you also have to understand and break it down from a level of like, you can't just be unrelentingly evil to this person when she lost people just like the people lost their children.
No, it absolutely.
She lost a child.
There is a direct one-to-one correlation between this movie and Morven Caller, which is Morven in that film, she is secondary to the violent act that was committed, as Tilda Swinton is in this film. But with her, you totally understand why she's acting the way she is. In this film, it feels so heightened that it reaches a pitch that just starts to irk me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself over and over again, just saying,
well, you're fitting the theme of the movie
at almost every corner of this film. It just strikes dishonest to me.
It's a hollow movie. You said that word earlier. It's hollow.
It's Hollow Man. It's the Kevin Bacon, Paul Verhoeven film Hollow Man.
Verhoeven did that?
Hollow Woman. Oh yeah, Verhoeven did Hollow Man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's his most sellout movie.
It's also like, this is worst?
Probably his worst Hollywood movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to talk? I feel like we've talked about it a lot, but it also
I haven't even looked at my notes. We've talked about it so much.
Well, I mean, I've brought up hopefully a lot of great points that you've loved tonight. And,
no, you've knocked it out of the park.
Congratulations, myself.
Oh, I'm looking back here. Look at all these notes I have here on so many movies. I just went back to notes on The Master Gardener.
Oh, Master Gardener?
The Paul Schrader movie.
Good movie.
It was a good movie.
A very interesting movie. Wow, kind of wild too. Weird little thing. I like that movie. But I don't know. I mean, I can't get over just how, I mean, I understand Kevin being unrelenting to her throughout the film. And I get that you want to repeat and show that over and over again, right, Jay? But I just can't get over how every other character also in this film just continuously either runs her over. I mean, like the scene in the movie that I just I threw up my hands and I went, I don't know if I could do this anymore, was about an hour in, and it's at the Christmas party at the office she starts working at.
Oh, yeah.
And the guy's just like, she doesn't want to dance. She's being very modest or whatnot. And she's like, I just don't want to dance. I'm not a good dancer. And the guy just goes to her face like, who the hell do you think you are to say no to me? Da 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 da, and everything like that. And it's like, oh my God, even the one person that was like being halfway decent to her, she can't escape it. This movie's kind of torture.
It is. And there's this, it's so interesting because there were those ideas, and there's this one line where somebody's, or is it Kevin that says it? I can't remember. I don't think it is. Somebody just says, how they train cats to not go to the bathroom in the house.
It's Kevin. He says,
is it Kevin that says that? They stick their nose in their own shit. And it's like, I mean, Are we just doing no nuance in this movie whatsoever? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. I mean, it also too, like the fact that he like gets a philosophy by the time he is in the prison and everything. And you're just like, this is the most he's talked in like the entirety of this movie. Him having a philosophy would have been
there's no character to Kevin, which I think is a very purposeful thing.
No,
but I think it's detrimental to the movie.
Yeah, because I totally agree, because it doesn't. We all know it's also this. You just all know what's coming. This movie does not lend itself to, once you know what this movie is about, I don't know. It kind of just, then it's like, okay, movie. It is what it is. And it doesn't provide nuance, or it's not smart enough. And then any good thing that you could say about it just kind of gets like tarnished, or because.
And I think the only good things about it are the aesthetic achievements that this film occasionally does have.
I think like the first 20 minutes of
it also opens up on a sheer curtain. Her favorite thing.
How would you rank the curtain?
The curtain scenes not as good as Ratcatcher for sure. which the opening of that film is all about undercutting the whimsy of wrapping yourself up in a sheer curtain. But not bad. It's all about shrouding reality.
Much better parental child dynamic. Much more interesting parental child dynamic in that film.
I mean, again, it's just so funny. She's like, "Oh, I love growing up with my parents. It's so great." And then every movie she makes is about the abuse and the impacts that it has on a human being.
Yeah.
She's great. She's awesome.
Was that your attempt at a Scottish accent?
This movie stinks. Yeah, it sounded a little Nordic, didn't it?
Yeah. I don't want you to repeat it because you might offend people, but
no.
Oh. No.
You can take our land. But you can't take our freedom.
Oh, for God's sake. All right. Okay. Yeah, movie's not great. Jay, it's time for that part of the show where we're going to test your award season knowledge based on the film we just reviewed, which is We Need to Talk About Kevin, in a segment we like to call It's an Honor to Get Nominated. Jay, was this movie nominated for any Academy Awards?
So if there was a Lynne Ramsay that would have been nominated for Academy Awards, it would have been this one. However, I still don't think it was nominated for any Academy Awards.
You are correct. It was close, though. I think it was very close. And the reason why
is... a screenplay?
No. For Tilda.
Oh, Tilda.
Tilda was nominated. Are you ready? For the Screen Actors Guild Award.
Choice.
For the Screen Actors Guild Award.
MTV Movie Awards.
She was nominated for the Golden Globe. She was nominated for the Critics' Choice. And she was also nominated
for an ESPY.
For a BAFTA. So she got everything.
A lot of noms.
She got everything except the Oscar nomination.
Did she really not get nominated for an ESPY?
No, she didn't get nominated for that. This is not, well, I guess it is. You could technically count it as a sports movie because of the bow and arrow, but that would be extremely tasteless. That would be extremely
with the dark joke this episode.
I'm just saying I'm just saying it would be extremely tasteless. It would.
How the tables have turned.
Well, they did always at the ESPYs have a best sports movie category, and so yeah, it technically would qualify if you want to be loose on that term.
Wow, love this.
Though it probably wouldn't have beat Moneyball because Moneyball came out the same year as 2011. The movie
gets on base.
Tilda,
what does he do? He gets on base.
Guys, if you don't say it, I'm just going to point at Pete. He gets on base. God, that movie rules. This movie also won Tilda the National Board of Review Best Actress of the Year award. And Lynne was up for the Palme d'Or at Cannes. This premiered at Cannes. So it was very close, Jay. This was, I think.
Were you following the Oscars pretty closely at this time?
Yeah, I was doing my own solo mission here. And I think that also Ezra Miller got nominated for Best Young Actor / Actress at the Critics' Choice as well, too. I think it was the fact that it felt like in the realm of her career, this was the first chance, because when she has like Orlando and some other lead roles, she's kind of young in her career. She had already won the Oscar for Michael Clayton. So this was their chance to nominate her, this generational actress, in Best Actress for the first time in her career. They nominated her everywhere, and she didn't make it in.
What is Tilda's Oscar history?
She has one nomination and one win, and it's for Michael Clayton.
Yes. Okay.
But she has not. She has taken that Oscar and made a career of being able to do whatever the fuck she wants, and it's kind of great. But this is very much like a movie premieres at Cannes, her showcase, gets nominated everywhere, and then she doesn't get nominated over a pretty, I'm going to say, silly lineup of people. I know.
I don't care. I'm not nominating this movie for anything.
I figured, but it is interesting that she doesn't get in.
I think she elevates a poorly written character.
Correct. She does the best she can. The actresses that did get in were Meryl Streep, who won for The Iron Lady.
Oh, The Iron Lady.
Yeah, Margaret Thatcher. Don't do a Margaret Thatcher, please. Glenn Close for Albert Nobbs.
I was going to do a...
what were you going to do?
Oh, God. I'm forgetting. What's the name of the chef she played?
Oh, you were going to do Julia Child?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
I was going to... It's me! Margaret Thatcher!
Okay. All right.
Which really, I'm just doing a Mrs. Doubtfire, really, is what I'm doing.
Yeah, you're really just doing a Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, hello! I'm the Iron Lady!
All right. Okay. Glenn Close, Albert Nobbs, Viola Davis, The Help, Michelle Williams, My Week with Marilyn, and Rooney Mara for The Girl in the Dragon Tattoo.
Give it to Rooney.
I think Rooney was the surprise.
She's the best one out of those by a significant margin.
Yeah, not even close. I wouldn't nominate Tilda either, but it's kind of baffling that she didn't get in. You have all that against you, but there's always one every year, either on the
Albert
Best
Nobbs,
Actor.
huh?
Yeah, well, Albert Nobbs got 2 noms.
More like Albert Noms.
Yeah, like Albert Noms. So you wouldn't nominate this for a single thing, would you?
No, not a single thing, except for I almost brought up the Razzies, which I'm not going to do. It's not that bad.
No, it's not that bad. It is not that bad. It's just maybe the screenplay.
No, the screenplay is maybe the worst part about it.
But no, I'm talking about the Razzies.
Oh, for the Razzies. I mean, I would maybe do it for the what's the movies for grown-ups awards?
The AARP?
The AARP movies for grown-ups awards.
It's astonishing. I know that stuff. Do
you
want to know what the nominees for worst picture?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the 2011. Oh, for Razzies? I thought you were going to give me the movies.
You want the best picture? Awards. Oh, you want the AARP awards?
Yeah, I want the 2011 or 2012 AARP awards.
I can look those up real quick. Do you want to know the Razzies first?
Yeah, let's do the Razzies for 2011.
So, worst picture. All right, you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Nominees: Twilight Saga: Breaking Dawn Part 1.
That's just lazy.
Transformers: Dark of the Moon.
That is a horrific film.
New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember a movie called Bucky Larson: Born to Be a Star?
Oh yeah, with what's his face, Nick Schwartzman.
Yeah, remember when we tried to make that a thing? The winner for worst picture of 2011 was Jack and Jill.
Mm.
What do you think of that?
Well, I'm looking at
it. He also
is this
Sandler.
Are you looking at? You might be looking at the 2011 awards for 2010 movies.
No, I'm looking at the 2011 awards for or the 2012 awards for 2011 movies. Yeah, that's what happened. Why?
I'm looking at 2011 here. No, you're
No. You got to look at the next year, because that's when the Oscars or all these ceremonies are held. They're held in like the early part of the next
2012.
Year. Yes, so you're looking at the 32nd Golden Raspberry. Okay. Are you looking at the AARPs? Did you look that up?
No, I'm just looking at movies from the year 2012.
Oh, okay. Well, you shouldn't do that. You should just look at the movies.
It should be 2011.
Yes, but the ceremonies are in 2012. It's very confusing.
I'm just looking at all these. There's a lot of bad movies this year.
Do you want to know Best Picture?
Best Picture?
Yeah, the year, like at the Oscars.
This would have been what?
The Artist.
2011 is when Tree of Life came out, which didn't win, which is a travesty. So what won the year of Tree of Life?
The Artist.
Oh, I mean, a movie we all remember and love and watch on a regular basis.
Yes.
When was the last time you watched The Artist?
20.
Yeah, like 2011. I haven't rewatched The Artist.
Yeah, I would say it was
That would actually be kind of an interesting rewatch.
The Artist.
Yeah.
Oh, Tilda was nominated for the AARP award.
Oh, that's cool. Movies for grown-ups.
Yes. Yes, the movies for grown-ups. Looks like everybody
Was
else.
this the same year as Carnage?
Carnage?
John C. Reilly, the Roman Polanski movie. John C. Reilly in another movie about an interaction at a school.
I don't know. I know that the best movie for the AARP group was The Descendants.
That's definitely a movie any 65-year-old would love.
Yep.
Not a bad movie.
Not a bad movie. Not a great movie.
No.
Best director went to Stephen Daldry for Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close. He beat Terrence Malick. You know who also was nominated for best? Do you know?
That made my brain hurt.
Do you know who was also nominated alongside them?
Yeah, I would love to hear.
Martin Scorsese for Hugo, Woody Allen for Midnight in Paris, George Clooney for The Ides of March, and Cameron Crowe for We Bought a Zoo.
Look, they did buy a zoo. There's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt about it. The other films that were nominated for Best Picture were obviously The Artist won Best Picture, like you mentioned, Tree of Life, The Descendants, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, Midnight in Paris, Moneyball, and War Horse. That was the 10 that year. Or I guess, yeah, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 that year. 9.
Descendants, Stephen Daldry beat Terrence Malick really hurt my feelings.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think. Well,
at anything. If you beat him in a game of checkers, I'd be pissed off.
Well, The Tree of Life wasn't even nominated for the best film for grown-ups.
Well,
that
grown-ups are overrated.
That was The Descendants that won Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, Midnight in Paris, The Artist, War Horse, and Tom McCarthy's Win-Win. Remember Win-Win?
Where are you at on War Horse?
Send it to the Glue Factory.
War Horse rocks.
You like War Horse?
I really like War Horse.
I think you're full of shit.
No, I'm not. That is a sincere opinion that I hold, is that War Horse is a great piece of classical cinema.
One day we're going to have to do Spielberg, because I feel like
we have very differing opinions on Spielberg.
I know a lot of them. I know I need to do a lot of rewatches. I haven't seen AI in a long, long time.
Ooh, baby.
But I don't know if War Horse is going up. But also too, my War Horse experience. Though. Yeah, I need to rewatch that. You know what I rewatched recently on a plane, and it moves, and it's good. The Post.
Post is like rock solid.
Yeah, Post is like, gotta get the papers, you know.
Yeah, imagine just saying, "Hey, Steven Spielberg, would you like to make a procedural?"
And he's like, "Sure, I've got a lot of post-production.
I'll turn your 5 into an 8."
Well, you know, that also is like, "Hey, you know, I will do this movie because I've got like 2 months because
I got a couple
CGI
weeks.
is not working on Ready Player One." So.
I haven't thought about Ready Player One in 6 months.
Let me call up Tom
since it's been in post-production.
Meryl and half of Hollywood.
Well, that's exactly what happened with Jurassic Park too.
Yeah, he's like, I'll make Schindler's List while I wait. It's like,
yeah,
that's what you're gonna do while you wait. Fucking madman. Yeah. Anyway, you ready to get out of here?
Yeah, let's get the hell out of here.
It's really sad. It's a sad episode.
A little bit of a bummer episode, a little bit of a bummer movie, but in a way that I don't appreciate.
We didn't even talk about the ending.
Bad ending.
Kind of just it's like, oh, okay. That's what we're doing here. Okay. I just don't, it's very anticlimactic in not an interesting way.
It's anticlimactic in a movie that wasn't really building up to a whole lot.
Correct.
Or it was building up to an obvious ending.
Yeah. Or an ending that may have made the experience worth it. And I don't think it does.
I don't know. All the stuff in the prison is bad.
Yeah. Also, God, the fingernail thing just drove me nuts. God, it's just stupid.
It was annoying. It wasn't
it's just
effective.
It's too on the nose. And it just suffers for it. So Jay,
it makes all of the issues that might lead someone to do this incredibly simple. And it's just a lot more complicated than that.
Jay, can you tell everybody out there where they can find you and all your work on the internet?
You could find me on Letterboxd. Just search Jay Ledbetter. You can find me on Twitter at Mr. J Ledbetter. You can find any work that I'm doing over at awardswatch.com. And you can find me about town, around the streets of Atlanta, having a good time. You're just about
town?
Go Braves.
You're just about town?
I'm just about town. I'm a man about town.
Are you usually by yourself or?
Nope. I'll have my baby Bjorn on with my 1-year-old in tow.
How does Jet like the baby Bjorn? Is he good in it, or?
He's getting a little too big. We just got like a super baby Bjorn, and that mostly goes on the back. If you want to go for like a walk, if I want to take the dog for a walk, I'll strap him on my back.
Like a backpack?
Yeah, like a backpack,
like a Yoda situation.
A real Yoda, Luke Skywalker situation. Yes.
Okay. And the roles are also perfect for the situation because Jet is more responsible.
So wise.
Yeah.
So wise.
Wise beyond his years. Yes, correct.
Yes.
And you're his Padawan.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you something that happened today?
Yeah.
My dog didn't bite Jet, but she nipped and grazed him.
How did he respond? Not good?
Well, no, he was very scared by it, but I'm more concerned about the dog. What do we do? I mean, this is something we got to pay attention to. This is a bit of a we need to talk about Kevin situation we got on our hands.
Well, don't buy the dog a bow and arrow, that's for sure. Sorry. I don't know. You just
well, it's a weird situation. I don't know. I mean, like, what hypothetically, if this keeps happening 5 times, what do we do? This is the first time. Yeah.
I think you just nip it in the bud and you just move on, or
we just put it on our radar.
Slap that dog on the.
I think she accidentally grazed him. I don't think she meant to hurt him.
I don't think. You know what? They usually do a lot of that stuff early. Not like, or is she usually weird around Jet?
No, but he didn't. Sometimes because
babies will grab and tug and pull.
Yeah, but he didn't do any of that.
Yeah?
He was just crawling around her, and she didn't like it.
Well, again, that's a correlated front. You're going to have to talk with your wife about that one.
Yeah,
I think you'll be all right.
It's a discussion to have.
Man, we're leaving the audience with like a giant cliffhanger. You're going to have to resolve this here in a couple of weeks.
We need to talk about Kevin. More like we need to talk about Desi, my dog.
Yeah. I think Desi will be all right.
She'll be all right.
She's a good girl.
She's a good girl. She's an old lady. She's grumpy.
That's the other thing, too. If they're older dogs, then...
she's 12.
Yeah. She's just old. She's
can't teach an old dog new tricks.
No. And also territorial. A little too, probably. It was probably just, it's just a misunderstanding, and it happens.
I'll keep the audience up to date.
Yeah, I can't wait for like in the most random episode, you just bring this back up, and I'm gonna be like, "You remember?" And I'm like, I guess.
Yeah, in our Young Frankenstein episode. So I had to put down my dog.
We should do Mel Brooks down the road.
That'd be good.
It's not gonna be this year.
No,
it's not gonna be next year.
We need to talk about Brooks.
We need to talk about Mel.
Mhm.
You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Ryan McQuade77. You can find all my work at awardswatch.com. If you like podcasts, go listen to the Awards Watch podcast. It's up on the main feed. Release episodes every Monday. If you like everything that we're doing here, 5-star reviews, Spotify, as well as also on iTunes, 5 stars. We'd love them. We'd love to read them, but you got to do them. So please,
Yeah, please
give us
just
5 stars.
Take 30 seconds, write a review. They are genuinely important to any podcast. So,
and also, if you like this movie and we're wrong, you can let us know.
Give us 5 stars and tell us how stupid we are.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But at least give us the 5 stars. We just want the 5 stars. You want to yell at us? Go right on ahead and do so. You're more than welcome to.
You can't get mad at us for our opinions. Get mad at us for the content.
Exactly. Well, isn't our content our opinions?
Man, what a chicken and the egg question that is.
I've been asking some really good questions tonight. I'm kind of proud of myself. I'm actually like good at my job.
Yeah.
And also while you're over at the website, go and sign up for the newsletter. Eric puts that together. It's where you can get all of these podcasts, news, reviews, interviews, all stuff award season coming up. Sign up for that newsletter. It's also very important as well too. Next week, already the end of our Lynne Ramsay movie series. We're going to be talking about You Were Never Really Here.
Yeah.
Another big one. And I'm looking forward to doing that episode. So thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you all next time.